Hey, how are we doing, boys? Yeah, welcome to the video. So today on DMZ, we're going to be doing more of a talk slash kind of, in a way, like a podcast, I guess, talking about a certain topic. And this one's going to be more of a rant and maybe a little bit negative for some people. So if you don't like negativity, or you're not a fan of rants, just click off this video, watch the next one. All right, but I wanted to talk about this one because I wanted to have like a response slash video whenever I get like these silly comments, and I get a lot of these comments, and I'm one of these people who love to reply back to every single person. I will try and make the effort to reply back to every single comment I have, and if I don't comment back, it's mainly because YouTube hasn't shown me it, or it's been put in the held review and I haven't checked it yet. But I always try and reply back to everyone. So this is just a way of me being able to reply back also to some of these silly comments I get. And also just to kind of talk about it and get your opinions on it after kind of hearing what I need to say about it, right? So the topic we're going to be talking about is PvP and how it seems to still, even though it's now nearly coming up to a year playing DMZ, like people just seem to have a really bad vibe or really hate players who go in PvP and maybe only PvP, right? And we get like loads of different type of comments like, what if you just want a PvP? Why don't you go to Warzone? Or I'm just trying to do my missions, why don't you just pick me up? You're the reason the player base is going low because you're spoiling it for others, and all this kind of stuff I see all the time. People also putting comments and kind of bashing other streamers and YouTubers on my comments, saying that I don't like this person anymore because he never picks anyone up. And I'm like, it's so pathetic, man. It's the most. I've never really seen these type of things in other games, well, extraction looter shooters, and so that's why I kind of wanted to talk about it. So let's just kind of start off with what DMZ is, right? So DMZ is an extraction looter shooter PvP PvE game mode, right? If you look on the actual main website when it first ever come out, the description for DMZ is an open world narrative focused extraction mode where operator squads have free reign, and this is the kind of key bit you need to kind of clock in here, free reign to complete faction based missions, take on additional side objectives, engage with enemy operators or AI combatants, and search for valuable loot while fighting to survive towards the exfil, right? The part where it says operator squads have free reign pretty much says it all, yeah? People can do what they wish, and unfortunately there will be people who will PvP only. When you click start to play DMZ, you kind of need to start going in and expecting that there's going to be a possibility of fights, even if you're not looking for them for yourself. If you go in with the mentality of having your certain rules and expecting people to follow by those certain rules, you're going to be disappointed, right? When it comes to these open world games, everyone who goes into DMZ has a different objective in mind and a different way they want to play, all right? Every single person you meet has a different thing they want to do. And you can't go into DMZ expecting everyone to play like yourself or have the same type of manners of yourself or not PvP, all right? Because that's just not going to happen. And it's no point being toxic towards them, because what I find is the people who are more toxic, and I'm kind of like, not really toxic, but, people who are mouthy are like the actual people we're talking about here. Not the PvP players, the opposite, because they're having this kind of entitled opinion where if you're not doing missions or a thing, you're playing the game wrong, which is completely not true, right? You can play the game however you like. It's an extraction looter shooter, all right? Everyone has different things they want to do in the game, and that's why these games do get quite popular, and why these games are quite addictive, is because there's so much you can do and decide to do. Every single game you go into DMZ is different because you can decide to do whatever you want to do. Some of the comments we get, right? go back to Warzone, or go and play Warzone if you want to play a PvP only game mode. And as much as like true in the sense of, yeah, you could go and play Warzone if all you want to do is PvP, but Warzone isn't an extraction looter shooter. Warzone isn't a BR. If I wanted to go and play a BR, for example, I wouldn't play Warzone, or at least Warzone 2. I don't like Warzone 2. I think it's one of the most boring BRs ever to be released. It really, it just doesn't keep my interest at all. It's just really badly done. So I wouldn't want to play Warzone as for a BR game mode. If you want me to go and play a BR, I wouldn't be playing Call of Duty at all. I would go and play Apex Legends, which I think is a better BR. It's also the same kind of thing as a BR game mode is not an extraction game mode. It's like me also coming out with a really silly comment just like that one and saying, well, if you just want to go and play kit co-op or do missions and single player type stuff, why don't you just go and play the single player? Why don't you go and play the raids? Why don't you go and play co-op, right? And it would be the same response that you would give back to me and say, well, I don't want to play the co-op or the single player raids. I want to go and play in DMZ because that's what I want to play. That's what's really fun at the minute. That's what I want to do. And it's the exact same response that a PvP player can say back to you. Well, I don't want to go and play a BR game mode. If I, you know, it's not the same as DMZ. And that's what DMZ brings to the table. If you go and play a BR mode, you're forced to do certain things, right? You're forced to a circle, right? You're forced to certain parts of the map, and the only thing you can do is fight, right? In DMZ, it's completely different. You're not forced to go anywhere. You just choose the map you want to go at, and then you can choose to do whatever you like. If it is PvP, if it's missions, maybe you work on a few passives, do a few things, get a few unlocks done, right? Whatever you do, it isn't like you're not set to having to do a certain thing. And I think that's why people sometimes don't like playing BR modes, right? Or specifically only PvP or only PvE, because they're not getting tied to a certain thing. So that comment is really, really stupid. And then in the other comments, again, you're spoiling the game for others if you're going out hunting people. Again, it's not the PvP players which are ruining the game. It's the people who are going into a PvP, PvE game mode with the expectation that everyone has to play by their rules or play how they want you to play. Alright? If you don't want to learn PvP or you don't want to fight, you have to expect that you're going to get into some fights, and you may lose because obviously you're not wanting to learn or partake in PvP. But if you're going to go into a PvP, PvE game mode, expect others to want to PvP, right? You can't expect everyone to abide by your rules, and that's not them being toxic. It's just you. It's your issue, right? That's your problem. If you don't like a certain part of a game mode, you're choosing to go into that game mode, right? It's not the PvP player's problem. They're the ones not complaining. They're doing whatever they want to do, right? They're either playing and PvPing, or they're doing their missions, they're doing whatever. And there's a lot of people in my community who were originally PvE players, but I've played with them a few times. Like, we do members games. We get into fights, and if you play members games for me, definitely expect to get into fights, right? We'll go looking for fights, and I try and encourage the people to get into fights, right? Because what I find is a lot of these people who may not like PvP end up liking that game we had where we got into some fights because they enjoy it. And I think a lot of times, a lot of the people who don't like PvP, the only reason they don't like it is because they don't know how to do it. And so they get angry that they get killed by people because they can't fight back themselves, because they don't either want to learn or they haven't committed to learning. And again, like, that's more their problem. They need to start, you need to start maybe getting into some more fights to learn how to actual fight and get into those kind of engagements, because actually becomes pretty fun when you start doing everything about it. Now, the thing I would definitely say, and I definitely agree on, is toxicity. Now, I think a lot of people think toxic, the word toxic is different than what I refer it to. I don't see people hunting people down or hunting spawns as toxic. That's just part of the game mode. That's PvP. That's not toxic. You're just playing the game mode. Now, what I consider toxic is if someone goes and hunts someone down and starts calling him different names under the sun, mugging them off, mocking them, right? That's toxic. Going around PvPing isn't toxic. Going around not picking someone up isn't toxic. And that's the other next thing I wanted to talk about, right? Is when we get into fights, and I see this more in US servers, but it happens a lot also in EU, but mainly US I see it a lot more, is because the system with the plea, which is very, very tied to DMZ, it's very different, and that's what makes DMZ a little bit different to, say, other extraction looter shooters. People expect you to get you up, right? It's like they go down, and that's it. You have to get them up. There's no reason not to get you up. Well, the thing is, there is a reason to not get you up, and that may be just I don't want to have someone on my team, right? If I go in as a solo player and I down a squad, or, you know, when you have those awesome games of Platoon or something, and they expect you to get you up, no. If I wanted to play as a squad, I most probably would have clicked squad fill or messaged my mates and said, do you want to play some games of DMZ? Maybe I don't want to have someone on my team, right? And that's, again, not me being toxic. It's just how my preferred game of playing DMZ is. You shouldn't expect to be picked up. If you go down and you play, you shouldn't expect to be picked up and then start being, like, you know, mouthy because you're not getting picked up and calling the person everything under the sun just because you're not getting picked up. Okay, a lot of these people remind me of my little kid. You know, he has a tantrum when he doesn't get his own way. That is pretty much sums up a lot of the DMZ community. When they don't get their own way, they have a tantrum. And this is the thing with the plea for help in general in DMZ, is it just gives you so many chances compared to other extraction looter shooters, where when you die, for example in Tarkov, that's it. You're dead. There's no pleading for help. There's no getting you up. You're dead. You've lost all your gear. You're back to the menu. You got to start kitting up and go back in there again, right? And when you die in DMZ, obviously you have like all these different chances. You got, if you're with a squad, you can get rezzed again, right? If your whole squad dies, you can plea and then get picked up again. You know, if someone picks you up. And there's just so many different ways of you know, getting a second chance. So you might only get put into the down state and the person can't finish you and you can res up again. But at the end of the day, if you die and you're playing and someone doesn't get you up, that's not really his problem, right? It's not his fault. And you shouldn't really need to make the person feel guilty for not picking you up. I mean, at the end of the day, it's your own fault you died. Yeah? I always like to look at it when I die. Whenever I die, I'm always GG, well played. And I always look at why I died. I always try and look it back and go, I really shouldn't have pushed that dude. I really shouldn't have pushed that team. I heard some shots over there. I should have just avoided it if I wanted to survive. Or I got caught off guard. Maybe next time I'm actually going to, you know, look about a bit more. Be more observant of my perimeters, right, of what's going on. And if you can think like that, it's going to help you a lot more in your games. Because you'll start learning from your mistakes. Instead of, like, being mouthy towards the person who's killed you and he's not picking you up because of he doesn't want to. Again, like I said, it's not his issue. That's your issue, right? And that's what I wanted to talk about. This is just the kind of thing I just wanted to kind of talk about. Have a little rant over. See what you guys think. And any other content creators, let me know also your opinions too if you do see this video. And you're also more than welcome to post this video as a comment with response to these type of comments you get yourself if you do agree on it. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. See what you all say in the old comment section. Could be a corker. but I had to say it. I had to talk, and you know me. That's what I'm like. I have to say what I think, even if it's negative or positive. I always say what I think, and I do like to talk about things like this, even if it's not the most popular subject, right? Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon for some more DMZ.